to be let in to one door and then to another. And same thing for the band hall. The band hall's locked. I can't get in until I contact the band director that I'm outside the door.
Okay, and have you noticed that when you walk up to the high school, do you notice how freely it is to walk into the school?
How what? I'm sorry.
Like how freely it is. Like you can just come from any
No,
direction
that
and get into, onto the campus. And I understand what you're saying about doors being locked, but there's kids at the high school walking the hallways at all times. Like there's a
correct.
kid out there open.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at the tennis courts.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Those are all things that I think that need to be more looked into, but not just a physical change, not just gates, but the actual school system in itself. Like, and I understand you have principals that are supposed to oversee these types of things. Maybe just, go to a campus, walk around every once in a while, show up at random. I mean, catch people doing not doing their job. Those are the types of things we need. We need you guys to I mean, to even if you can't be the one to be like, hey, you're not, you should be doing this, but you're not. You guys can let him know, let somebody know. Be that change. Like, go to the school. And say something or show up, or like you're saying, just walk around and see. Like Mr. Harold's saying, he sees the cops not doing their job. Still, that doesn't make us feel any better because we drive by the schools just like everybody else, and we see what you see, and for us it's even worse because we were telling you, our kids, it's going to be hard enough to get them to go to school anywhere, more or less, when they're with us in the car and see, oh, look at these cops are just sitting there talking, they're not even doing anything. I mean, I just ask that you just please, like, please, please, please. And I'm not saying nothing's changed, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that school's starting in 7 days, and where does that leave us? Because yes, I understand you are not done yet, but these are like every child in this district, their educations are already affected. Every child, from even if they go back to school, the focus that they're going to have to just even learn. Like, how can you put kids in a class for 8 hours and like just expect them to just sit there and learn like they did the year before? That's not going to happen. So just think about all these things. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Coach.
Next we have Mr. Rosenberg Risa.
Good evening. One of the things that I wanted to say was that as far as for safety, and I know they have to be taking care of the students all day long, but uh, if you think about it, there's going to be a few times that they're going to be more exposed, and that's going to be when they drop them off. The parents drop them off in the mornings. You don't know the what they're. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna be like this or that, but I'm just saying you don't know when they drop them off who's physically in that car or what do they have in those cars. That's going to be in the mornings. That's going to be in the afternoons. And it's going to be very difficult to patrol that or to see exactly because you cannot stop every single car. But like everything else, all it takes is just one time. So I would like at that point to make sure that all the patrolmen, police officers are really looking when they're dropping off their students. Because let me tell you, that's a real good time for our students to be exposed. So that's going to be very important. The other thing was that that I wanted to mention, and for Dr. Harrell, um, the principal at Rob School. I know she was just placed in another area of the school to work at. The question to you is, was it because the lawyer, or was it you found that it was necessary to put her somewhere else and just move per se the situation to a different area?
That is a personnel matter that we can only have with our personnel. That's all I can share at this point.
Yeah, because one of the things that was in the paper that I read was the locked door or unlocked door that was never addressed, and that was one of the most important moments at that time. So that's the reason why I'm asking this question. That, you know, Mrs. Gutierrez was just, okay, put on administrative leave, got a lawyer, I'm pretty sure talked to the school's lawyers, and within a day or two, she was already had her job somewhere else. And I don't see that as being right, to tell you the truth. And I'll just leave that there for you to think on that. The other thing that I had mentioned on previous time was on the grants, the money, which I talked to Mr. Fernandez, was a breakdown on that would show exactly where that $1 million went to. You have it for cameras and all of this, but to whom, how much? You know, make sure, my point that I'm trying to make is that money that was donated, the $1 million plus other donations, other grant, is not deferred to some other department or programs or everything that needs to, you know, you have to do a little better over here. And the question that I have, all of those donations and everything, do they go to the general budget or do they stand alone? And that way you can show it. To me, it would be a lot better if it stands alone, because that way that pertains only to that, to the safety, everything for the schools. And it doesn't go, maybe, I ain't got nothing against the football team or nothing like that, but it doesn't go 20,000, 50,000 over here to this side, because that's supposed to be for the safety of the school, for the students, for everything like that. And that's why I'm asking that you should, who you paid, how much did you pay? And what is the balance of each of the donations, grants, and everything? Because I believe that would give us a more transparency, accountability, who's taking care of this.
Absolutely, we can do that. And no, that money doesn't go anywhere except for safety and security. That did not go to any other departments whatsoever, no, sir.
But it would look a lot better if there's a breakdown, who it's going to, how much it's going, how much you've been paying, and what is the actual balance. Because $1 million here, committed $1 million equals zero. How do we know for sure? Because all the fences are not up. The cameras are not up, all of them. So, you know, you're showing zero already, a balance on that.
Correct. It's been allocated for those projects.
So, I mean, it would be more transparent and accountable, and at least it'll make you all look a little better for that. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Riso.
Riso.
Appreciate it, sir. Next up, we have Mr. Manuel Riso.
Board. Thank you, Board, for the opportunity. It's been over 3 months, and there are more questions, and you all have offered some solutions. But I'm going to offer you one more, an important one that I believe that the board needs to respond to this. And they need to do it very soon because it should have been done within a week or two after the event that happened here that took the lives of 21. All of my questions that I have for you, who I prefer for the board members to respond, are in regards to a special board meeting held to discuss grievances against the superintendent on August 22nd, 2022, where the board requested to coordinate with the superintendent in regards to the current systematic review of the UCISD Police Department that is currently being conducted by James McLaughlin. So my first question to you all is, who selected James McLaughlin?
I reached out to him.
And when did you reach out to him? You're saying that the investigation started at the moment that you reached out to him?
Conversation started talking about the scope of the work to be done. Is where we first started.
And when was that?
I'd have to go back and check the date.
Was that before this incident, this event, or after?
Prior to August 22nd? Is that what you're asking?
No, prior to May 24th.
I did not speak to him prior to May 24th.
Okay, and did the board know about this, that that you were gonna reach out to a James McLaughlin?
I may have shared it with him. Something I did as superintendent.
Right, and is this something that the board should authorize you to do so, to request an communication or authorization with an entity or a person that's going to conduct an investigation?
Within my purview, yes.
Yes, within his scope of his job duties to do it.
To do that, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, okay, then you can answer these questions. So the investigation has not started yet. You've reached out to him, but it has not started yet?
It has not. It will. There are
Oh.
documents that he's asked for and requested. We will get those to him. Like I said, he'll be on site September 29th and 30th.
Okay, is there a certain report that you can provide to the public or the board on what this investigation is going to entail?
I'm sure there is, or, he'll have a report at the conclusion. Is that what you're
Right, well,
asking?
what I'm asking is what is the investigation going to entail? What is it? What is its focus?
The scope of the work is to audit and evaluate our department to see what is the right size, right fit for Uvalde CISD. That's where we started.
Okay, so this is something for the future of UCISD. This isn't going to answer any questions in regards to what happened to on the events that led up to May 24th, 2022.
So the audit and evaluation, the scope of that work is just what I explained. However, I have been talking to him about an internal investigation and what department or what agency would be best to pursue that exercise.
So we know at this point that the city is conducting an investigation. My understanding, the county has not yet. I may be wrong with that, but I urge the board to request a special investigation into all matters relating to the events that led up to and including on May 24th. And I'm talking about all matters relating to UCISD police officers, the superintendent, and the faculty at the time. I think that that's going to possibly and hopefully offer solutions to some of the questions that the family members have here. And if you don't do that, you're going to find out that the DOJ and possibly DPS is going to continue to point fingers in your direction of failures in the school district, which we know it was a systematic failure, correct? But why not conduct an investigation as soon as possible so you can relieve some of these officers of their duty, or faculty or other people that need to be removed from their duties that failed that day? I mean, don't you think that would be important? I'm asking the board, do you not think that would be important, that anybody sitting up there can ask the superintendent to put this on the agenda for a special agenda item? Or do you not see the importance of this?
We do see the importance of it. We first wanted to deal with the chief and then see what it is that we need ourselves, because we're, we've never dealt with a situation like this. And so what we were looking for is to look for someone to guide us as to who we can hire to do, one, the audit. What can we do better? Come in, give us a better idea of what we need to hire, what it is that we need to do. And then two, something separate, guide us, because who do you call for something like this? It's not exactly a playbook for it, but yes, we do think it's important. And that's why that's step 2.
Right,
for
but you know that you can conduct multiple investigations ongoing at the same time, right? You don't need to wait for one to finish out to conduct another
Right.
investigation, and then also
Yes,
relieving the board, Peter Arredondo took, I want to say close to 90 days, correct?
Right.
You really don't need to wait. You need to get it started and get it started now. And I think that that would offer some solutions to this, to the parents here, and then also the public who are sending their kids to your schools. Right? So I think it is important. What do you think, Laura?
I agree. It is important. I mean, I have a lot of questions and I've asked a lot of questions. I was told, and not by the district, but outside the district, that I was not privileged to that information because I'm a board member. So I have a lot of questions because I was at the hospital. I know what I saw. So it's been very personal for me, and I really don't want to share this, but since we brought it up, I was there. I know the injuries. I know the deceased. And I watched my friend walk down the hallway to identify her child. It's very personal. And to say that I don't care, that we don't care, it's not true. I just want to make sure that we do things the right way and that change comes correctly. And I know, I'm sorry. I grew up here, I graduated here, I raised my children here. And so this community means a lot to me. And what happened on 5/24 is something that none of us will ever forget. It's going to be like, where were you that day? And I'll tell you where I was. I was driving home from school and I was asked to come into the hospital. When I walked in, there was nothing that could have prepared me for that day, nothing. When I close my eyes at night, that's what I see. So I'm not going to leave until we fix things. But you have to be patient, because I don't want us to do anything the wrong way. And don't think that we're not going to address your concerns, because we will. Because I'm not going to sit here and just say, okay, and then not do it. It's a process, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do right by your children and those 21 lives. The people that still have to trust us, that have to come to school and that are afraid to come to school, we have to fix that. We do.
And thank you for responding. And
Sorry.
this is the most that I've heard.
I
And
just-
and I would,
It's personal. It's personal because of what I saw, but that's my job. That's my job. So when I went to work that day, I didn't know what I had to do, but we all did what we had to do.
Right.
Didn't stand around and wait to be told. It was, how can I help? What do I do? Where do I go? And every time I walked out of my department to find a parent, I'll never forget the looks on those parents' faces, because it was like, pick me, pick me. And I didn't. And it is very personal for me. And I'm sorry, there's nothing I wanted to share, but it does matter. Those lives matter. Those were my friends. Those children belong to my friends.
and I think it should matter to all of you up there. And I think it does. And thank you for sharing that. And I think that the communication is important to have. And thank you for having these town hall meetings that were long overdue, right? And I think that I find that the solutions will come when you have an investigation that is external, that the board selects someone to look into it thoroughly and then come up with viable solutions for this, because that's how you're going to gain the trust of the family members here, you know. And I know that you all care. I know, Javier, that you care. And, you know, you voting the other day, you know, for the removal of the police chief, and, you know, and I know you have to wait, and you want to wait until an investigation is concluded somewhere, right? But You really don't have to. Call it upon yourselves to ask for an external investigation, and you should do that. You should do it now.
Thank you, Mr. Riso.
Laura, I appreciate what you just said, but I also want to piggyback on that because you said you did not have to wait for somebody to tell you how to do your job. Well, they shouldn't have had to wait for anybody to tell them how to do their job. That our building, that school buildings are government buildings. They don't have to wait for a command, but everybody now is hiding behind Pete for Pete to take the blame. And yeah, from day one, yeah, he was in command. But just like you didn't have to wait for it, they shouldn't have had to wait for a command. So that's our frustration because they shouldn't have had to been told how to do their job either.
Thank you. Last one is Ms. Deyanira Salazar.
Good evening. I signed up to speak to you regarding I was in town today and I found out that there is a young lady who has apparently applied to the district, but she hasn't received any word. This is her first year, will be her first year teaching. I was speaking to a lady over at the Leader News, and we had spoken before about this. So I asked her just in passing, how did she hear anything? She said, "Oh no," and I want you to know that because she was very frustrated. This is probably like a month ago that I spoke to her, and you would think that by now, right, that maybe she would have heard something. And I am mentioning this because, again, she will be a first year teacher. She has a job. She has kids here in school. And, it's been so long since I've applied. I do not know exactly what the process is, but when you are first applying, you really don't know how it goes. You really have no clue. If I remember correct, I had no clue. I was very young in my 20s, and I think I can tell you that for sure it's been at least a month and a half to 2 months. She hasn't received any word. Even if it's a no, I think that in addition to getting that we received your, because there's probably an email, right, that says we received your application, thank you for applying, on and on, but maybe a call, because this person, I can guarantee you, probably has little to no idea what to expect. We don't want to lose her. She wants to teach social studies at Morales, is what I was told. And again, she applied a long time ago. So I am making you aware because that needs to be corrected. I can't imagine, actually I can. I can imagine being in her shoes when I was very young, starting out, and this could be a reason that she says, I don't want to teach. That would be terrible, right? Terrible. So I just wanted to make that known to you. I have one more thing as I heard the speakers, if I may. I think that Laura Garza is correct. We need, the high school is completely open. I know you know that. I know that for Uvalde, it's always been a funding issue. I know that. I know that the tax base here, we don't have it. We don't have we cannot get the money that we need from, people that live here as far as taxes. We cannot afford many things that we would want, we fought for so many things to get in place, and it always comes back to there is not enough money, right? That's always the answer. I know you know that. I know that, and many people that I know that. But given, of course, the horrible tragedy Laura Garza brought up a lot of points. She said, I know you are not in charge of this, but she mentioned 18-year-olds who can buy weapons, and we have 18-year-olds here. That needs to change. That really needs to change. We cannot have 18-year-olds here who can just walk into this campus because they are a student, right? With a weapon. She's right. She's right. We cannot have, we need to do something about being able to access, as she said, the buildings. That I taught here, I know it's always been like this. We lived in a different time. When we came to school, we never spoke about shootings, you know? We never did any drills. Never, ever, ever. The words were not even spoken. And now we live in a time where sadly, you know, this is how we live. And it's horrible, and it's tragic, especially for the kids. But she's right. We need to find a way to secure this campus. And I cannot stand to see cops talking to each other the way she described it, because I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it many times, not just here, so many other places around town. At the Honey Bowl, here at the high school, downtown, at various places. You know, I know many of y'all know that I know these things because I am made aware, and I know now much more than I did before. But, you know, back in the days, we had cops that were on the ball. They would go immediately without thought. They would go into whatever situation was happening. They didn't think about themselves first. They just went in. They went in. We know that. We're old enough to know that. We know that's how they operated back in the days. And I'm sorry, but we have slacked so much in so many things. We have kids with their jeans hanging off their butt here at the Uvalde High School, and no one says a thing. And if they see it, they ignore it. Ignore it. That is horrible. Horrible. What kind of image, what kind of person allows that to begin with? What kind of person allows their child to walk with their jeans here to where everybody can see it and no one says a thing? You know, it starts with things like that. And if we don't get things like that under control, you know, everything is out of control. Everything. Forget about teaching, you know, forget about teaching. I've been in the classroom where I couldn't teach. Here, I couldn't teach. I know some of you know that. In tears every day because I was young, very naive, very inexperienced, in tears. Every single day, probably. And I only stayed because I love teaching. I love teaching. I will never give it up. But Laura Garza is right. We need to secure this school, just like the others. I know Morales Junior High, the same. And we've talked about this. I know I've been to the board meetings. We've spoken about that, but we need to do it. We need to do it because we cannot have children in these schools the way it's completely open. The other man, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. You're wearing a gray sweater. You say when people were dropping off the kids, we don't know what is in the car. He's right. He's right. When people come in and they come in, who do we know? Who do we know who's coming in? We don't know. Maybe it's just someone pretending to be a parent, right? He's right. We need to, I don't know how we can do this, but we need to find a way so that we know who it is coming in, picking up their kids. Are they a legit person, right? Are they really picking up someone, or are they here to harm us, harm our children, harm our teachers, harm everybody? And I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Also, he's right about the money being allocated. Where is it going to? You know, money has disappeared in past years. I know that.
as I said, I've been to many board meetings. Money just has a funny way of disappearing. Enough, enough. And I know that you are the board members now. You weren't the board members back then. I know that. But back in the days, many times the money just disappears. And then at one point, I think it was like 2013, we finally had somebody tell us where the money went. And did it go to where it should have? No, it didn't. It didn't. It was completely redirected. No one knew where that money went. And that person that had the power to do it did it, knew it was wrong, but they did it anyway. Anyway, they did it. And only until this lady came around, and I remember her, I will never forget how she spoke. She was one of your directors. And she finally said, you know, I've looked back in the records. I found such and such money should have gone to this, but it went to this. I found this amount should have gone to this, but it went over here. And you know, this was around 2013, 2012, right around there. So I was younger, I was learning, but I never knew the immensity of the problem. It was huge. It was huge. So I don't blame people questioning that at all. Because even then, even though I had little power to do anything, I mean, it had already been done, right? I understand fully why people would ask me for that. I do. And I think it would be very wise to say where the money went. Because even here recently, I know that some money that should have gone to Dalton didn't go to Dalton. It went somewhere else. It disappeared again. It disappeared. How does money disappear, right? It should have gone to Dalton, and it didn't go to Dalton. It went somewhere else. No one can find it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That means that somebody is not doing their job. Somebody who apparently probably isn't being overlooked by anybody because there are a million things to pay. How can you keep up, right? But there are people that are supposed to keep up and they were not keeping up. And that was a big issue because I discussed that issue, you know, with people that are close to me. And it was very irritating that you push and you push, you want something done. I don't remember everything. I have an idea, but you push and you push, you finally, you know, it's going to come true. And then all of a sudden, no, the money's not there. It was a lot of money, a lot of money. It can't just disappear, because if it's disappearing, something is wrong. Something is clearly wrong. I'm done. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And just one more thing, just one more thing. I know that probably late, but better late than never. I want all the families to know that there is no way we can ever know what you are going through. We won't ever know that. But I want you to know that I will keep you in my rosary prayers every single day. Every single day. And I know that, you know, we're human. We don't have the power that God has. But I know that God has that power. And I know that He will help you. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. Appreciate it. Okay, that'll go on to item number 4, adjournment. Get and train a motion for adjournment.
Hang on.
Oh, okay, yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Casares.
It goes back to the security doors, you said they're in back order, correct? And where those doors are going to? Are they gonna be doors for here or all over the campus? Different campuses?
The doors?
You said they're back, some of them are on back order.
Yes,
Where are those doors going to? Are they gonna be for here or the different campuses?
throughout the district.
And what type of doors are they? I mean, are they ballistic style doors or?
I don't have the specs on them, but yes, they're to secure the vestibules with parents and visitors to the campus come into each campus during the school day.
And is it all doors or just some doors that need work? Cause I've seen some here that are patched up with L brackets and stuff like that.
So we've done a door audit. We are ordering doors. The first doors we ordered was for the vestibules. The special entry locations.
Okay, well, on that as well, you have that first entryway where the teachers and, or parents come through, you have 3 different doors going to go into the school. And the 200 wing, on the 800 wings, I believe, they also have double doors, but they don't over here where the first entryway is at. Those 2 doors are just single doors. Are they gonna add more doors to that section or no?
Part of that door audit was to do an evaluation of what is needed throughout our district.
Again, with glass, I mean, were they gonna, are they gonna put some type of ballistic film on all glass, or is that true or not?
That is one of the things we're investigating and looking at. But as far as the specs on the doors that are currently ordered and the frames, if you would like to meet, I can give you those specs that we've ordered.
Okay, I know there's some glass, say, because I work with glass, there's tempered glass, laminate glass. I know a majority of these glasses are tempered. Even putting that film on there, a bullet's gonna, it might stop that bullet, but that glass is still gonna shatter to the floor. You can actually open that door after that glass is put down. I believe laminated glass is your best bet. It can take a bullet and it'll crack, but it's an option, and I know some of these doors do have that, but that's something you might think about as well. Another thing is secondary locks. Talked to the principal about that, and he said he talked to the police chief, and it was a fire hazard. I don't see why. I mean, hotels and homes have that all over the world. One of the schools, a simple lock, bolt,
The bolt,
that it could have saved lives that day.
and that is correct. That is one of the things that has been brought to our attention, that deadbolts are fire hazard.
I don't see how it is, but I mean, that's something I believe is important. Because they could have saved lives that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cousins. Appreciate it, sir.
I just want y'all to focus on actual security and everything more than dress code.
What was it again, sir?
I said, I want y'all to focus on security and all of that, protecting our kids more so than dress codes and kids sagging and everything. Just tossing that out there.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, item number 4, adjournment. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. President.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. JJ Suarez, second by Mr. Javier Flores. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Stand adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, it's Adam